Hi, I'm making this video to explain a little bit about what our first assignment is in our class, and that is you're going to analyze and think about keeping employees motivated. And now, when I teach this class face to face, we do it in the form of a role play where you actually team up with another student in the class. But this being an asynchronous section, we won't be doing that, but you can still prepare for a meeting you'll have with an employee. So let's talk about how we keep our very best employees motivated, a real challenge for everybody in management. So for the past 7 years, you've worked for a commercial electrical contractor. You have been the customer service manager. You manage 16 full-time employees. Half of those employees have been with the company 8+ years. I mention that because that's really good. That's not a very typical scenario in this type of work. Half have been with the company 2 years or less. Now that's a little more typical. The wages, benefits, and conditions you offer are above the norm. And the company has a very clear promote from within policy, obviously motivational to the employees there, thinking that they have the opportunity to advance within the company if they do the right things. And job satisfaction and performance has been very high. So you've done a great job. So great that today you've been promoted to the Vice President of Customer Relations. Good for you. Congratulations. Um, but when you get promoted, this is kind of a funny thing in real life. When you get promoted, you have to have somebody to replace you in your existing job. Real important that you have that thought about before you do that. Either a candidate identified or a plan in place to get somebody in there right away. You don't want to delay your promotion, right? So you post according to policy, you post an internal job listing for your old job, and you've already received two applications. Candidate number one is somebody who's been in the customer service role with the company for 10 years, has above average performance reviews, done a good job, well liked by their peers, friendly and sociable personality, and has been dedicated to the job and the company. In other words, a very good employee. Candidate number two has been with the company only 18 months as a CSR, customer service representative, but has quickly become one of the top performing CSRs in the company. Has earned respect of their peers in a short time. But even though they've been with the company a short period of time, they've had 15+ years of successful customer service experience. And more importantly, they have had 5+ years in the management supervisory role of customer service people. So a real solid candidate. So you've chosen to promote candidate number two. That proven supervisory experience is really critical that they can get into the job and start doing it really well right off the bat, and they'll assimilate to this new role very quickly. So you think you made the right choice, and you probably have as a good person to choose. But what's the issue here? We have a really good employee who we want to keep motivated. We want to keep them being a good employee. So you're scheduled to meet with candidate number one. So I want you to think about a few things. Think about, okay, how am I going to break the news to them? This could go, you can imagine this could go not very well. How will that person react? In real life, I can honestly tell you, I've had people curse me out at the top of their voice and quit right in my office. I've had people just get very emotional and start crying and get very, very upset. So you get all kinds of different types of reactions when you go through this scenario, which happens all the time. Believe me, this is a very common occurrence. So I want you to think about I want you to prepare for the meeting, basically. And I want you to think about, how does expectancy theory factor into how you might conduct the meeting? We've learned about expectancy theory. It comes into play here. How does equity theory factor in? That could also be part of this. We need to acknowledge it and understand and address it when we have this conversation. And by the way, your boss has made it clear that there's no pay increases or bonuses are allowed to keep this person around. So, and by the way, I can just tell you from personal experience, throwing money at this situation is not a good plan. It doesn't motivate the people. It doesn't really assuage the issues at hand. Obviously somebody's going to feel pretty poorly because they weren't chosen. Okay, so that's your job. That's what you need to think about doing. Now let's take a look at this. I'm going to back out of this presentation real quick. And if I go under content for in Module 9 for this. I will find the motivation exercise. This is the actual worksheet I want you to work from. All the information I just gave you is basically restated in here. Think about how you're going to do it. So what I want you to do is fill this form out that's on basically page 2 of this. And I want you to think about what are some of the specific tactics you intend to employ and why in helping keep this employee motivated. How do you think this person is going to react, and how will you handle it? Think about that as well. And then the last thing I want you to address is what is an alternative motivation theory that you might consider. What are the pluses and minuses of that? Okay, so that's your reflection on this situation. It's kind of getting you prepared to have this meeting with candidate number 1 who did not get the job. When you're done with this, what I'm going to ask you to do is download this thing. It's in a Word format. Fill it out directly in this this file, I should say. But when you do that, save it as a like this, the same name of this thing's called Business 101 Motivation Exercise, and then put your first name and last initial or something to indicate who you are, and save it that way. And then you're going to put that in the assignment folder. You can also print this out, kind of complete it in some other fashion. You can scan it, creating a PDF file, which I want you to save the exact same way, but you can hand that in to me as well. What I don't want are camera pictures of or JPEGs of your completed exercise. I don't want anything like that. I need an actual file from you to get that, okay? So I think that's pretty straightforward. And you put those into, if you go under the assignments tab, you're going to put those into the assignment folder for this particular exercise. And since we don't have too many of them, it's pretty easy to find. Okay, that's it. I think it's kind of an interesting thing to do. It's very real world. It happens all the time. And it's a way for us to match up what we've learned about motivation theory with a fairly common scenario and see how you would handle it. Okay? Have fun with it, enjoy it, and if you have any questions or anything like that, let me know. And good luck.